Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I'm going to have a really exciting show for you today because I have a power couple who, as you will see in their story, do everything together, hold each other accountable, motivate each other, and frankly, watching them do what they do is a lot of fun. I have Christy and Ray with me. How you guys doing this morning, Christy and Ray?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So watching you two share on social media is very inspiring to me as someone who's just trying to figure out this game. But more importantly, your guys' story of what you are doing and have done is great. So why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and sort of who you are, where you're at, and what you do, and we'll go from there.
So I'm Christy. My husband and I have a real estate company. We've been working together for the last 8 years. Prior to that, I was a teacher, a fourth grade teacher. So the jump into entrepreneurship and real estate was quite the the fun time.
Yeah.
And so here we are 8 years later, and we have a 3-year-old daughter who's keeping us very busy as well. And just excited to be here with you. So thanks for having us.
Very, very cool. So when you say real estate company, what does that mean? Is it, wholesaling, fix and flip, buy and hold, notes? What is that for you?
So we've done a little bit of everything. We started wholesaling, and then we got into flipping and some rehabbing. Then we started buying and holding units, and that turned into a rental portfolio that we acquired throughout about 5 years. And then once we decided to expand our family, we decided to sell that off little by little. So we sold off pretty much all of our rental properties, and then we got into the private lending space. So that's what we're currently doing right now, is the lending.
And we stopped the buy, fix, and reselling and the wholesaling. We still do that, but through joint venture partners now. We'll put up capital, and then we'll do like a JV deal. We'll do hard money.
Yeah, so this is exciting because, I'm sure you hear this a lot or you know this, but I'll share it for the audience. A lot of the real estate investors' ultimate goal is to get where you are, right? Some people talk about, hey, we start with wholesaling, then we go to flipping, then we become landlords. But then there usually is that one more step. Oh, I really want mailbox money, right? I want to quote unquote be the bank. So why don't you talk about that transition? Was it simply, hey, we have a daughter, we want time, right? You're essentially buying time by getting out of being a landlord and becoming the bank. Why don't you talk about your thought process and really what that was like?
I think there we were doing two things. So we were running a full company, and then she was kind of like my COO, handling more of the day-to-day and managing the team. But when, once we had the baby and she wanted to stay home for that year, kind of put all that stress on me. So we had the team, we had the operations, we were finding deals. I had a full-time property manager, full-time project manager, acquisition guy, dispositions person,
wow,
office manager, and marketing overhead, right? So it was a full company.
Yeah. And
then I was running deals, finding, like managing the team, and obviously they were doing their pieces. But it came to a point where I missed that whole first year. And her and I had a lot of struggles in our relationship, like big time. It was the hardest year we ever had, because she's focused on baby. I used to be number one. Now I'm not number one. I'm still working in the business. She's not working, but she's there still taking the hits with me, right? So ultimately we had sold, so we had some good capital. And, it's kind of whether or not you want to be active or passive or a hybrid or passive. And ultimately that changes depending on the season of life you're in. She told me, close it down. Like, this is stressing you out, close it down. And I fought it, and eventually I just said, you know what? She's right. We closed the office. We already had sold everything. And then little by little, we started getting into the lending. And I think that most people don't realize that when you have a rental portfolio and I'm not judging right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. Everyone is a vehicle to get you to where you want to get to. And everyone's got a unique ability. Everyone's got a unique ability well past. So some people are very good operators. They should own a bunch of rentals because they're very good operators. It doesn't bother them. But for us, we wanted to be great moms and dads. We wanted the time. And our unique ability wasn't so much in buying property, much more so than managing money. I have a financial background. And we wanted the time.
Yeah.
And we wanted mailbox money, but true mailbox money that didn't take up a whole lot of our time. And with the rentals, we just found there was nothing passive about them. It was an active operation, and you had to be engaged. And we wanted consistent predictable monthly income. That we needed that to buy our time back.
Yeah.
And with the rentals, what we got was consistently inconsistent rental.
Consistently inconsistent. I love that.
Because some months you had a hot water heater go, some months you had a vacancy. You couldn't count on it, right? You couldn't, unless you, even with scale, and at best, you're running a 50% operating expense ratio. By the time you back out the notes, mortgage, and everything else that you pay investors, you might be keeping 10, 15%.
Yeah. No, you're right. And just so you know, Christy, I have it on video now that he said you were right. Just in case you didn't catch that.
She
I say that all the time.
She saw it. Yeah, she saw it.
All right. Well,
I
that's
wanted
good.
to add though, because I'm actually like looking at your background. I see one rental at a time, and sometimes he gets a little emotional and passionate. And I wanted to add too that the rentals is why we're here today.
Absolutely.
So it was such a huge blessing, and you can call it luck in the market. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it was such a huge blessing for us that we were able to ride that and learn everything that we learned throughout those years of having rental properties. And
tell them what we made the majority of our wealth
through the rentals.
Through the rentals.
Yeah.
So
holding it enough long
through the
enough
market cycle
to see the equity go 2-3 times, and then at that point, once the season, like he said, he took a bunch of words right out of mouth, but like once the seasons changed, then we were like, okay, we've got this gold nugget. What do we do with it?
Right.
So I think that's where it's like that for us, I think when we first started in 2011, like that was the end game. We wanted a bunch of rental properties and that was it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get ahead to say, okay, but someone's got to manage this. Someone's got to, deal with all of this. And if it's not us, somebody else may not take as much care of it as we would or we were doing. So all of these things kind of came into play. And to just reiterate, like the number one thing was like how grateful we were to acquire those rentals and how much we learned.
Yeah.
And then we got to the next season and was like, okay, this is not our favorite. We're not happy doing this. What's next?
And in the future, we'll talk about that in the future. We're not against rentals. We're going to get back into the rental game, but just at scale. And her and I have realized that our unique ability is not day-to-day. We suck both at day-to-day. That's why we do the money piece, because we have to invest in great operators, right? So now we're looking for great operators. After our call at 3 o'clock, I have a call to go with someone on a 44-unit deal, but they're operating and they're coming to us for more money, mindset, network, and strategy. But we're not day-to-day. We're not executing. We're not doing any of that. That's not what we do. That would take us away.
Yeah.
And it would stress us out. And we don't like.
And also the other part I wanted to add was like the value of having flipped, having wholesaled, having rental properties, all that stuff. Now, when we're lenders, we're looking at it very differently than doctor or dentist who just wants to place some money. We're looking at it from the operations side, from the borrower side, from what's the end result here? How can we help? How can we add value to our borrowers? Yeah. And all that came from all of the experience that we got from being in the business and doing it.
It was a necessary means that we enjoyed it and it served its purpose. And then when that season is over, I think a lot of the guys and ladies get stuck to the wheelbarrow. Hey, it has to be this way. We force that, hey, it only has to be this way. There's a million ways to skin this passive. What you want is monthly consistent income. And honestly, like, she's never cared where the money comes from.
Yeah.
As long as it comes in, it doesn't take up a lot of my time, right? That's right, and it's consistent. Yeah. That's it, and I'm enjoying it, right? So.
Yeah, I think your analogy of seasons is right on it. And, to your credit, your timing was frankly perfect, right? 2011, coming right out of the real estate recession or depression, depending on what market you're in. You build a team, right, which were direct employees, right? They were like your company. Yeah. And then you realize at some point the season has changed or we've got enough or whatever you want to call that. And you're like, hey, let's buy our time back even more, right? Because you just had a job of a different name, right? It was your company, but it was a job, right? I think you can admit.
I was going in and dressed up in a suit and tie every day. Like that's how it was.
Sick days,
no sick days because you have employees,
vacation.
right? No, it's you're and then you have a big overhead because you got employees, you got marketing. Because at that point, our marketing bill was 30 to 40 a month. That's just marketing. Forget staff salaries, right? So it's just, and what if you don't close a couple of deals, which might happen in the fix and flip game or the wholesale game, right? You might not close something.
Yeah.
And in 16, 17, we stopped. Our last building we purchased was in 15. Yeah, our last building. And then, so we weren't really buying and holding anymore or growing that portfolio. We were trying to actually now sell it. So.
Yeah. So let's give the audience a feel. So you spend 2011, you start wholesaling, you ramp up fix and flip, you start buying rentals. Where did you peak at unit wise? A rental though, is it 50 doors, 60 doors, 100 doors? And then you unwound that.
90 was the most we got to in the rental portfolio.
Okay. And then was that all in Miami?
It was mostly Miami, some in Broward. It was mostly single family, duplex, triplex, fourplexes. And then our biggest one in 15 was an 18 unit building.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my biggest as well. Houses through 18. Never bought anything bigger than 18. Yeah. Very cool. So interesting. So okay. So you start unwinding the portfolio. You kind of shut down the company also in like 17, 18. Does that kind of go away?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 17.
I think it was 18, mid 18. No,
it was last year.
Oh, 17, mid 17.
2017. We
shut it down.
Yep.
Well, we little by
unwound.
little.
Yeah.
I mean, we were still unwinding as of a few, maybe like 6 months ago. It took about 1.5 years to actually really truly get everything.
Yeah, because we still had deals we were working on. I still had leads to follow up on, right? All that stuff to unwind. But the people were gone, which like, we ended up making just as much with me and her going back and doing 3 or 4 deals that following year just from the overflow of marketing.
Exactly.
That having the whole team, remember?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that I struggled with for a while because, I just left my full-time job February of last year. So it's been about 13 and a half months. And as a sole operator, just doing it part-time, right? I do this YouTube thing for a while to help people. I flip now because I have time, right? And, we made, 300 grand, a little bit more. And then I go to these mastermind groups. Then they're like, well, why don't you go bigger? Why don't you get a marketing team? Why don't you get an acquisition guy? I'm like, you guys don't understand. I got time. I call my own shots. I'm out, right? I don't want that headache. Are you kidding me?
Agreed.
Yeah. So
the idea of keeping it simple.
Yeah. But sometimes I get that whole ego thing and I see people doing, 10 transactions or 20 a month. And I'm like, nope, I just have to keep walking away and go, nope. My wife is always right. There you go, honey. My wife is always right. It's on video.
But there's also, I think that there's also the beauty of like unique ability. Like we have people, like we have one of our best friends, like they have hundreds of single family houses in Broward and they
self-manage.
They self-manage and they love it. Like we're at dinner, the 4 of us, and they're answering tenant calls like it's no big deal. And we look at each other and we think, I would.
Yeah.
I would shoot my phone. Like, I do it. And they're fine with it. So I think that that's one of our big things too. It's like, what is it that you really want? What do you want it to look like? We thought having employees would be, make things easier, make things, it was just a level of complication and we hired, like we did the hiring screening process.
We got coaches. Great at hiring.
We did great. We had great people that are
we
still friends with us. But it was just that level of complication where
just day-to-day operations and managing people and now I just manage other investors that have conversations like you and me and say, hey, what happened on this loan? What's going on, right? There's some mistakes, right? How do we fix it, right?
Yeah,
but it's just easier business for us, easier for us.
Right. Yeah. No, and I think you mentioned it, both of you mentioned it now. You need to know what you're good at, right? The couple you're having dinner with, they get a kick out of it. Clearly that lights their fire, whatever it is. Me, I have never taken a tenant call. I never will take a tenant call. Are you kidding me? No, not going to happen. Right. So, but yeah, if you know thyself and thyself's happy, right? Don't judge anybody. So I love that.
That's one of the biggest things that we're always talking about. Just do you, whatever that is. Yeah. I think when everyone might get caught up, and especially in these mastermind circles, even though I'm part of a mastermind and we have masterminds.
Yeah.
It's a great piece to help you grow and help you inspire something that's already in you. And yet when it goes sideways is when you're trying to copy someone else or be something you're not. And that's where you introduce suffering. Because now you can't be a second-rate somebody else. You can only be a first-rate you.
Oh, I love that. That needs to be a T-shirt or something. Seriously, that's awesome, Ray. That was a gem.
It's come from me kind of trying to be
that's after a lot of lessons
spirituality, meditating. Hey, what does even this idea of the mastermind we're doing now? Hey, 100% of revenue goes to charity. 100, not net proceeds. 100% of revenue, because I don't want to deal with the collection, with the people. Here's a paper. Here's a GoFundMe link. Great, you can make it or not. That's fine.
Yeah.
So But had I been copying everybody else, what's everybody else doing? They're like, let's have a mastermind. It's $5,000 for 2 days. You know, let's sell seats. You know what I mean?
Well, let's jump into that, because again, one of the things that attracted to me to both of you is the fact that you're giving, right? So if we want to start with the mastermind, fine. You want to start somewhere else, fine. But I'd love to kind of set it up a little bit more, right? I think
Christy would tell you a good couple of stories of how we started a giving, because I kind of forget how this has evolved. But I mean, at first giving to myself, like we never tell them about the cruise story, tell them about those kind of, tell them about our starting giving.
Well, I think it's just as givers, right? Like, I mean, I can speak for women more than for men, but for us, it's like we're always giving. We're always seeing what everybody else needs. We're always looking to help, right? And then we forget that we are the ones giving. So if we are empty, there's nothing to give, right? And then the whole giving and receiving piece is huge. It's like I want to give to him, but then he wants to give to me. And if I don't let him give to me, which I don't know how to receive, then I'm robbing him of being able to, you know, feel that giving nature in himself, right? So it's a two-way street.
I was just reading a book that I called her, she got from yoga on this. And the quote that I read was, you can't give to somebody else that which you're not willing to receive for yourself. It was from the Tao. So
I think that was a big.
But she already knows it. See, I had to figure it out, but she already knows it.
They're just smarter than us, Ray. Just
But I think that's like that whole fill your cup first, and then it's gonna overflow, and then you can give more freely and more.
And from the book, that's where you want to give from a place of abundance, because abundance means to overflow. If you're giving from a place of the ego, where you're trying to give to get something, or you're trying to give to fill a need, the giving never does anything. Receiving is giving. So and then when you receive, you allow that person to give to you, which is a blessing in itself. So being a receiver is something I'm working on. She's better at it than I am.
Yeah. So I think that's where it kind of started off. I've always been, 20-25% tipper, like no big deal. Like I don't want to do math. I'm just gonna over. He would look at me like,
"What are you doing?"
In the past, right? And then little by little, he started to build that muscle, and then I started to kind of see, okay, well now like everybody, there's lessons that you learn throughout life. For me, it was okay. I need to give to myself before I can give to others, right? Especially I had a baby. We had our employees who were like our, children basically.
Right.
It was this whole big evolution. And for him, it was that. It was like he wanted to just kind of like do the whole financial freedom thing, but like blinders on, right? And I think that there's so much value in that, because you kind of get to a point and you make X amount of money, and then you're like, well, but now what? Yeah. Like, that's it. Like, that doesn't feel, I mean, it's great. Don't get me wrong. I love not having to worry about, getting a Starbucks coffee and it not breaking the bank, right? And at the same time, like, then what's next? Yeah. So I feel like that's a big piece of what we love to talk about with our friends and our family and whoever will listen, is just, it's okay to want money, and it's okay to want financial freedom, however that looks to you. And we had the big house on the water, and we had the, all this stuff, and we were like, this is not really feeling like good for us. Like, what do we really want? Coming back to the what do you really want thing.
Well, the question is, the book I was reading today, we both shared it, is what's the motive that's driving the financial end? Like, what is the motive that's driving? Because the end of financial freedom, great, but are you going to be financially free so you can give it all away? Is that what's driving that? Do you want to make impact? What is the outcome? Do you want experiences? But if you're trying to achieve financial freedom to prove somebody else wrong, that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That may not be what's going to ultimately fuel you. Now, initially it might fuel you, but again, what is the motive behind it?
Yeah. What's the thing? Yeah.
So,
so he mentioned a cruise. I want to hear about a cruise.
So the cruise. So I'm still a teacher,
Okay.
and we have been dating for probably about 2 years. And it was a 3-day. We're in Miami, so it was right here.
Yeah.
Right at the port. 3-day, $159 cruise.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was a Halloween cruise.
Right.
Bahamas and back kind of thing.
Yeah. Super. And why don't we go to this? If we hadn't done, like, he's been working. I was teaching. We kind of just, what do you mean? Like, leave 3 days? Like, what do you expect?
That was it. That's where I was at.
That conversation turned into like, well, we never took vacations. Like, what's a vacation? Like, basically, I'm like, what are you talking? That's the point of working so hard, so that you can go on vacations and so that you can, and not just that, like the taking the break is so important to kind of replenish yourself to get back on. So he was burnt out. He was just kind of like, and I had to force him. Like, I actually went and bought the tickets, and I was like, we're leaving Friday morning.
Show up or don't, I'm going.
I'm going, you figure it out. So just that, like him giving to himself was like huge. Because, like, I was so focused on that. So once we got that kind of developed, then we went into giving to our employees and just kind of giving them personal development.
Taking them to Tony Robbins seminars.
We would take them all to Tony
Dave
Robbins.
Lindahl.
Like that was like, and that felt so good because then they would come back and just be like, oh my God, I learned this and I learned that. And they come back as different people. So we're like, oh, this personal development stuff is really, you know, working. So we started to kind of give like that. And then we started to see open up into all these other charities. And like every time pretty much that someone posts something on Facebook or whatever, it's just, I just do whatever comes up, I just do it. And it not only feels good, it also, it makes it more worth wanting to get more money, right? So it makes you want to go out and produce more just so that you can give more, right? And it's just this constant evolution of saying, okay, well, what else can I do? How else can we impact? Yeah. And so now what we've,
she's great at this too, in terms of what drives and motivates the giving? Is it the ego to feel better about yourself? Or is it you're giving without expectation of return, right? There's no way these kids can repay me in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
I might not even see them, right? So that's kind of ultimately the impact that we're looking for. And it's gotten, I think over the years, it's gotten more and more. We give to other charities. We don't get so caught up in what we're giving to. If I believe in that person, we give. And she started at a high level with that, we were at an event, and there was someone who wanted to kind of go to a higher level event, and I think it was a big difference. It was almost it was $8,000. The difference for that person to go to the next level of the coaching, right? And I go, babe, you like this person that much? And she goes, oh my gosh, she's so sweet. And and then I was like, you know, at that time, like that was the most we had ever given at any one moment, right? No, and that wasn't a lot. It was 30 times more. I mean, it was just like, hey, what the? Am I missing something, right? Yeah. And then she goes, no, because she didn't feel that we had earned it together. She felt like the money was mine, for lack of a better term, or not. Oh. And then that made her feel like, okay, I can give it away. And I think that we gave it, and the truth is, we don't know what's happened. Like
we gave that anonymously.
Yeah, we gave it anonymously. Like she still doesn't know.
Anonymously, right. And I kind of keep tabs on her every once in a while, but it was fruitful, I feel.
Yeah. Right. So sometimes we give anonymously, sometimes we give publicly. Again, we want to inspire others to do the same and build a. We find that and just now as we're doing this is the first time we do this. We're attracting a whole, even someone like you, Mike, we wouldn't have attracted you
right
if this wasn't in alignment. So this idea of making impact first is what's driving us now, not the income, right? It'll follow. It's further down the road. It'll take care of itself. Yeah. So making impact with these kids is important for us. Just kind of making a difference is kind of what we're about right now.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question about your story now, and then we'll get to the impact of the kids and talk all about that. I'm wondering if there was an evening, a dinner, a breakfast where it was like, honey, we need to unwind this portfolio. I mean, was there an event, an eviction, a story where it just clicked like, okay, we've had our run. We're going to change seasons. We want to cash out and do something else, become private lenders. Was there one event, or was it just not really?
For me, it was more. She was already out. She knew. Obviously, you know this, Mike. She knew a year in advance.
Yeah.
She saw it coming, right? But it was me.
Yeah.
What am I doing? My identity was the business. I was tied up into it. It was who I was. I was a real estate guy. I was someone who flipped 20, 30 houses a year. It was my ego running the show. So I think one day she goes, after multiple fights and us kind of being in the worst place in a relationship.
Yep.
Just shut it down. And it just, when she said it to me that time,
you heard it.
I was open to receiving it.
Yeah.
Again, being receptive is something that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And we did, and we shut it down. We wrapped it up, and it's probably been the best thing we've done.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to you guys doing lots of great things. So now let's talk about the kids, right? You've mentioned a couple of times, Ray, about impacting kids. Why don't we set that up, what it is, how you do it? And talk about all the various things you're doing in giving.
So we just, one of my buddies, Brian Tripp, was supposed to come down on the 20th, right? This is what happened. And I said, well, would it be cool if we did like a charity for things or something for kids? But I didn't really want to. I didn't want to put myself out there. Like, we usually give anonymously. We usually give, and we kind of stay behind the scenes. And so I tell a story. So I'm in the same office, I'm, working, standing up as I usually work. And I'm talking to the founder of the charity. And I'm looking to see if they can come down on the 20th so we can make it an event and kind of talk to them and raise some money just in front of the guys at the event. Not a big deal. And he couldn't make it. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, then, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'll just meet with Brian when he comes. So we'll just kind of meet at Starbucks and hang out and chill. No problem. Then my daughter gets up from her nap, and she never does it. She always, Dad, mommy, not Daddy. No, not you. She goes, not you, Daddy, not you. And she goes, Daddy, not you, Daddy, not you. And then, but this time she gets up and she comes over here. I'm on the phone, and she gives me this little epic hug, but a hug where she won't let go. And I'm talking to them. I'm talking to the son of the chair of the owners of the charity. And in that moment, like, something said to me, like, Daddy, you're the one. Like, you're the one that they called. You're the one with the network. You're the one that can help these kids. And then I envisioned her being caught up in that. Her being caught up in the in the human trafficking and in the sexual abuse. And in that moment, I told him, Larry, what do you need? Yeah. He goes, Ray, we need 25 to 30 grand. And his mom is in the background. And I didn't realize that it was his mom's birthday. And Larry made a big ask. And I was like, Larry, I'll get the money. And then his mom in the background starts to like tear up. You know what I mean? Like, you can hear, like, now she didn't know I could actually get it, right? So she has no idea that I can actually
make it happen.
Most people, when they attempt to raise money for charity, because they don't have a well network and they haven't put a lot of value into the network, it's hard to get it. It's hard.
Yeah.
So I said, Larry, we're in for 30. Cool. And then I go, babe, I'll figure it.
This was May 2nd.
This is May 2nd.
I mean, March 2nd.
March 2nd. So
yeah.
15 days ago, I sent out an email. I have an idea of how it should look like, and I want to do it money, right? Hey, it's $1,000 for the first 5 people, and then $2,000 for the next 5, and then $3,000 for the next 5 on the mastermind. It's like, I have my own way of what I want the universe to do for me, right? Silly, great, right? Rather than letting God do His thing. So I sent out a couple of emails. Within a day, I raised 5 or 6 grand over the weekend. Yeah. 5 or 6 grand, and the money's going direct to charity. We're covering all the costs for the event. Yeah. So they're like, okay, this might really happen. And then we changed it up. We said, hey, it's $1,000 if you want to attend the check. If you want $1,000 minimum donation if you want to come to the event. So one day hot mastermind roundtable event. But what's funny is it's been like 7-8 days since then, like business days. We've raised close to $43,000. The original goal was 30. Nice. So we said 30, and now we made 50. And we raised more money from people not coming to the event. We only have 17 people coming to the event, 17, 18 people coming to the event so far. So we've raised more money from people not coming. Yeah. And we've changed somebody's outlook. Yeah. They have 20 kids, 14 little girls, 4 boys, and 2 young adults. So they have 3 separate houses. And they were running this like very shoestring. Every month they had just enough to cover. Remember, these kids need psychological help, so you have psychiatrists, you have medical doctors, a lot of them have diseases. Yeah. They're homeschooled, and you have security in all these properties because a lot of them are caught up in litigation through what's happened. And like now talking, I'm like, Ray, you've helped us free us up through your network so that now we can breathe. We're not concerned with how we're going to pay rent next month. We're concerned of, can we grow this? Where do we want to go? They're not in scarcity anymore.
That's huge. And you know this, but we'll say for the guests, it was that post that made me reach out to you and go, I got to talk to these people, right? Because your heart's in the right mind. You're doing things you don't have to do, which is awesome. You didn't have to do that.
No.
And when you get to that state and you can tackle very important subjects, that kind of stuff moves you, right? And it will cause others to do the same thing. So, we've got 5 more minutes here. I want to turn it 100% over to you. How can people follow this or other things you're doing? Because I know one thing for sure. This may be your first mastermind where you're doing it for charity. It's already had an impact that you far exceeded initial goals. You're going to do it again. So how can people follow what you're doing, be a part of what you're doing? Please share away. And the floor is yours.
One of the things we both wanted to share is I think that when you're looking to serve a higher purpose, like God, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call, moves through you. There's no way that we could have done this ourselves. Like, we planted seeds for sure, but God brought the rain, and we had no doubt He was going to bring the rain. I had a little bit of doubt at 30, but she's like, Ray, you got. She was like, Ray, you got 30 all day, baby, all day. And she was like, if not, I'll do it. Well, I'll put it in, right?
Yeah.
He's putting to hit the credit card. He's putting to hit the credit card. I'm like, what happened to the credit card? Why is it red hot? What happened to the card?
Very good cause.
Yeah. So, but so a couple of things that we're up to. We're launching a podcast called Both on Board. It's one of our goals is to inspire entrepreneurial couples to create the life and business of their dreams while enjoying the ride. So that's going to be launching in April. We're both on Instagram. I'm at the official Ray Gonzalez, the official Ramon Gonzalez, and she's at
Christy Risco
on Insta. You can find us on Facebook. We're on Facebook as well. Both on Board is on Instagram. So you can follow us there. What else do we got coming up, baby? We got the mastermind coming up March 20th. It's a one-day event, high-level real estate investors roundtable. And again, it's not about me and her. It's about who's in the room, and our role is more to protect the integrity of the room and making sure that everyone's a giver there and that we're all looking to collaborate. The premise is how do we make more, do less, keep more what we make, and ultimately do less and impact more. Right? That's the goal, right? So, and what's unique is of this mastermind, because we're doing it 100% for charity of the revenue, not net proceeds, of 100% of revenue. We're attracting a lot of great givers in the room that we normally would not come to an event like this.
Yeah.
But because this is the impact, and guaranteed we're gonna get to the 50 at the event. We're gonna come back to them, and we're gonna. Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Again, sometimes you come into these interviews and you're like, this is going to be a good one. This has been outstanding, right? Seeing both of what you've done. You've talked about the seasons, riding the waves, changing what you're doing, and now filling your cup with the next thing. Whether it's going to be fun to watch what you two do together, both on board, both from charity and giving and impact. It's been a lot of fun. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to watching what you guys can accomplish together. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for putting us on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep.